Welcome to the deep dive. You sent us a fascinating resource this time, Dean Vaughn's How to Remember Anything.
Yeah, it looks really interesting.
So our mission today is to sort of plunge into its core methods, see what makes it tick, and extract some, valuable knowledge
Yeah.
about memory and how you can make yours work better.
Exactly. Dean Vaughn puts forward this really compelling idea that basically anyone, including you listening, can learn to remember, well, anything with speed, ease, and accuracy.
Using these organized techniques he lays out.
Right. He even envisions these methods becoming a fundamental part of education, like a fourth R, reading, writing, arithmetic, and remembering.
Remembering. That's quite a claim. Let's explore how he sets that up.
Okay, so the book's basically in two parts.
Right.
Part one details 10 core steps, the real nuts and bolts of his memory system.
Okay.
And then part two shows how to actually apply these steps in, like, practical situations.
Gotcha. So for this deep dive, we should probably focus on those initial foundational techniques. Give everyone a solid grasp of how it all starts.
I think that makes sense. Lay the groundwork.
Okay, so what's step one? Where do we begin?
The very first step Vaughn introduces is what he calls the numbered room system. Sometimes he also calls it the units cube.
Numbered room system, units cube.
Okay. Think of it as like building the initial framework for your mental filing cabinet. You start by visualizing a room. You know intimately your bedroom is a common suggestion.
Okay, yeah. I can picture my bedroom.
And within that room, you mentally designate 10 specific locations, numbering them 0 through 9.
0 through 9. So like the ceiling could be 0.
Exactly. Ceiling 0, maybe the back left corner is 1, the back right corner 2, a spot on the wall 3, the floor 9. Whatever distinct spots you can easily picture.
So the units cube is just that first room, those first 10 spots.
Precisely. That's your foundational framework.
So it's about creating this detailed mental map of a familiar space.
Yeah.
And the crucial part seems to be being able to just run through those 10 locations effortlessly, forward, backward, randomly.
That's key, yeah. You need to know those locations instantly, like setting up 10 readily accessible mental slots.
Okay, makes sense.
So once you have this units cube really locked in, the next step is associating the information you want to remember with these specific locations.
Oh, okay. How does that work?
Vaughn gives a classic example, recalling the first 9 presidents. To do this, he uses sound-alike pictures, or what he calls audionyms.
Audionyms, okay.
So for George Washington, you might visualize a washing machine.
Washington. Okay, I hear it.
And you mentally place that washing machine at location 1 in your room. For John Adams, maybe a newspaper ad at location 2.
Todd Adams.
Thomas Jefferson, maybe a chef, sounds similar, right? At location 3, Madison could be medicine at 4, Monroe money at 5.
Adams again. Wait, John Quincy Adams is number 6, so another ad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great point he makes. You might use the same audionym. The location is what helps you differentiate. The ad at location 2 is John Adams. The ad at location 6, maybe on a different wall, is John Quincy Adams. Ah, so the place keeps them separate. Clever.
Then you've got Jackson, maybe a carjack at 7, Van Buren, a van at 8, Harrison, maybe someone's hair at 9.
Okay. I can see how that starts to build.
And he really emphasizes making these associations illogical. Don't just picture a washing machine. Maybe imagine it, I don't know, overflowing with suds that smell like cherries or vibrating wildly.
Engage the senses. Make it weird.
Exactly. The more unusual and vivid, the better it sticks. He also mentions you can expand this, right? Once you fill up your first 10 slots, you use another familiar room, like your living room, for numbers 10 through 19.
So teens in the living room, 20s in the kitchen.
Then, dining room, whatever works for you. Each room becomes another set of 10 mental hooks.
Okay, so we've got our mental rooms, our locations. Now, turning anything into these pictures, that brings us to step 2, right? The audionym thing.
Yes. How to change words to pictures. And this, he stresses, is probably the most important technique in the whole system.
The audionym, right. Simply put, it's a word that sounds similar to the one you want to remember, but it's something you can easily visualize. And the critical point, he says this over and over.
Let me guess. Sound, not spelling.
Exactly. Based purely on sound. You're creating a visual anchor for something abstract by latching on to how it sounds like something concrete.
So like the examples earlier, haze becomes hay. Grant becomes granite. You picture the hay or the granite, not the letters.
Perfect. That's the idea. It's about building that auditory bridge to a visual.
Does he give tips on making good ones?
He does. Some guidelines. Pronounce the original word and the audionym out loud. Make sure they're based on sound. Try to match consonant sounds, not just rhymes, if possible.
Okay.
And keep them simple enough that the picture triggers the original word, assuming you know this subject matter already. It won't teach you something from scratch, but it helps you recall it.
Right. It's a memory aid, not a comprehension tool necessarily.
Fundamentally, yeah. Audionyms turn abstract info names, terms, concepts into memorable visual pictures.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Translating the intangible into tangible images.
Eh.
So now we have these pictures, maybe in our mental rooms, maybe just as audionyms. Step 3 is about connecting them. How to remember by association.
Exactly. And the core idea is super intuitive. You remember new stuff by linking it to something you already know.
Okay.
But here's the Vaughn twist. The power lies in making the associations illogical.
Illogical. Why?
Because our brains notice weird things. He uses this example with a chicken and a horse, picturing them just standing together. Logical? Forgettable.
Right. Boring.
Picturing a chicken riding the horse. Better. More illogical. More memorable.
Okay, I can see that.
But the most effective, he says, is something so illogical it could never happen, like a horse laying giant eggs and chickens hatching out of them.
Uh-huh. Okay, yeah. That's definitely not happening.
That absurdity makes it stick. It's like our brain flags it as important because it's so unusual. It really shows memory isn't just rote learning. It's about engaging imagination.
So the more bizarre, the better. And he also says only link 2 things at a time.
Yes, keeps it focused.
Okay.
Each link is just A connected to B, then maybe B connected to C.
Got it. Does he have guidelines for making these weird associations?
Yep. Guidelines for creating associations. First, identify the known thing, like a location in your units cube, something solid.
Okay.
Then identify the new info, maybe make an audionym for it. Then visualize the known thing in its normal place.
Right, the washing machine in location 1.
And then associate the new info with it in a really strange, exaggerated way. Use your senses, smell it, hear it, feel it, use action, maybe even imagine yourself interacting with it.
Getting personally involved.
Yeah, that seems to strengthen it. And his final check. If it could possibly happen in real life, it's probably not illogical enough.
Aim for the impossible. And this works for, like, remembering who painted what.
Sure. The painting is your known. Create an audionym for the artist's name. Then imagine that audionym doing something crazy to the painting.
Like Van Gogh's audionym. Maybe a van going somewhere. Driving through the Starry Night painting.
Perfect. Something like that. Same idea for dates, definitions, anything where you have a known piece and want to attach something new. He does mention a slight difference for project information, like learning a language, where you can plan associations more, versus just random facts you pick up.
Right, you can be more systematic.
And it's amazing how these basic tools then apply elsewhere. He talks briefly about medical terminology.
Oh, yeah. How does that work?
Well, you take the roots, prefixes, suffixes, turn them into audionyms, and link them together. He mentions this, frankly, incredible statistic.
What is it?
Being able to interpret over 11,000 medical terms in under 14 hours using this.
14 hours for 11,000 terms. That's wow.
It really shows the potential efficiency, doesn't it? Breaking down complex words into sound-based visual chunks.
No kidding. It makes you wonder about the learning curve to get that good, but still.
Yeah.
Impressive.
And he applies the same logic to building English vocabulary using Latin and Greek roots. Like the root archi means ruler.
Okay.
Visualize an ark. Maybe Noah's Ark with a big ruler sticking out of it. Ark, ruler. Archie, ruler.
Okay. So knowing those roots helps you unlock tons of words.
Potentially, yeah. Significant vocabulary growth.
And foreign languages, too, you mentioned.
Fifth principle, audionyms and association. His example for Spanish, manzana, meaning apple.
Manzana, apple.
Visualize an apple, but inside it there's a man sitting in a sauna.
Man, sauna. Manzana. That's pretty good.
Right. Or pan, Spanish for bread. Picture a loaf of bread and suddenly a frying pan bursts out of it.
Pan bread. Got it. The visual connects the sound to the meaning.
Exactly. It shows how versatile these core ideas are, audionyms and illogical association.
Okay, so these fundamentals are really flexible. But we've mostly talked about words and concepts. What about remembering numbers? That's step 5, right? The number code.
Yes, this is another big piece, how to remember numbers. He introduces a phonetic code. Each digit from 0 to 9 gets a specific consonant sound.
A sound for each number.
Yeah, so 0 is the S sound, or soft C or Z. 1 is T or D or the. 2 is N. 3 is M. 4 is R. 5 is L.
Okay, wait, let me try. 6.
6 is chi, she, or J, a soft sound. 7 is a hard C or K, or G, Q.
Right.
8 is F, V, or P, and 9 is P or B.
Wow, okay. So similar sounds are grouped.
Yeah.
That seems like it might take practice to keep straight.
It definitely does. That's a common hurdle, distinguishing T from D, for example. Practice is key. He suggests learning it using the units cube again.
How?
Associate each number, 0 through 9, with a food or drink starting with that sound, and place it in the corresponding location in your mental room.
Oh, okay. So 0, the is sound might be spaghetti on the ceiling, location 0.
Exactly. 1, T sound could be T in the back left corner, location 1. 2, and maybe noodles on the left wall, location 2. 3,
Yeah.
milk on the floor. Whatever works.
Oh. So you drill those associations until number equals sound, sound equals number instantly.
Totally automatic both ways. That's the foundation. Once you have that, you create code words from numbers.
Code words.
Yeah. You take a number, translate its digits into their sounds, and then form a word using those consonant sounds. Vowels A, E, I, O, U, and the letters W, H, Y don't have any number value. They're just fillers.
Okay, so the number 32, that's M and N sounds.
Right. So code words could be man, moon, mean, mine. You just need the M and N sounds in the right order. And importantly, the code word should be something tangible, something you can picture.
So man or moon are better than mean.
Got it. What about double letters? Like in butter.
Double consonants count as one sound. So butter, BTR, would be 914. It's always about the sound, not the spelling. Like matter is MPR, 314.
And one number can have multiple code words. You said 314 could be matter, meter, miter, motor.
Yep, gives you flexibility to pick the word that makes the best mental image for your association later. Okay, this code is powerful. How do you use it practically? Phone numbers.
Phone numbers is a great example. You take the number, say, 741-9214, break it down. 741 is KRT sounds. 9214 is PNTR sounds.
KRT.cart, PNTR painter.
Exactly. So 741-9214 becomes cart painter. Then you just need to associate that image, maybe a painter sitting in a shopping cart with the person whose number it is.
So it's 2 steps. Make the code words, then make the association.
You got it. Translate numbers to pictures, then link the picture to the owner. Same idea for dates, like remembering years.
How?
Convert the year, maybe just the last 2 digits if the century is obvious, into a code word. Then associate that code word with an audionym for the event.
Okay, ASAP.
He uses the First Crusade starting in 1095. The century is pretty clear, so focus on 95. That's PNL sounds. A code word could be pale or pool or apple.
Okay, pale.
So you picture Crusaders maybe carrying big metal pails. Crusaders plus pail, pile of 195.
Wow. Okay, that actually seems doable.
And then Vaughn shows how to layer all these techniques together for something more complex, like remembering all the U.S. presidents in their terms.
Whoa, okay. How did that work?
Well, you already have the first 9 presidents linked to locations 1 through 9 in your units cube using audionyms, right? Washington washing machine at 1, Adam sat at 2, etc.
Yeah.
Now, to add the start year, you convert the year to a code word and link that to the audionym in its location. Washington started in 1789. So 89 is FEPH and PB sounds. Maybe fob, like a watch fob.
Okay, fob.
So in location 1, you picture your washing machine and maybe a fancy watch fob is tangled up inside it. Washing machine plus fob, Washington 1789.
And you do that for each one. Adams, 1797. 97 is PB and Keel, your maybe book.
Yeah.
So the newspaper ad at location 2 has a giant book glued to it.
Exactly. And since most presidents after the first 2 were in the 1800s or later, you often only need the code word for the last 2 digits. You use your units room, 09, then your teens room, 1019, 20s room, 2029, and so on, linking the presidential audionym to the code word for their start year in the correct location.
It's like building a really elaborate mental palace, layer by layer, using the room system, the audionyms, the number code, and the association principle all together.
Yeah.
And he calls chaining associations the link system.
Yeah, the link system is basically creating that story, that chain, where one illogical image triggers the next one in sequence. Useful for lists or ordered information.
So what we've covered today, the numbered room, audionyms, association, the number code.
Yeah.
These are really the core building blocks from part 1 of the book.
They absolutely are, the foundational elements. He goes into more detail and adds other techniques, sure, but mastering these gives you a surprisingly powerful toolkit for boosting your memory.
This deep dive has definitely given us, well, me anyway, a really compelling glimpse into how these organized memory techniques work. It makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does.
How could these methods be applied, in everyday life? Learning things, work, just remembering names, even getting these initial steps down seems like it could make a pretty big difference.
I agree. So maybe think about that room, That units cube, those first 10 spots, could you use that right now? Maybe for a grocery list.
Key points from this discussion.
Yeah, maybe just trying to link, say, 5 items using weird
That's a
pictures.
starting point, and it leads to a bigger question, maybe a final thought for you, our listener.
Go on.
Imagine the possibilities if these kinds of techniques were more common, maybe even taught systematically in schools or workplaces. What could you achieve? What could you learn or create with a significantly more powerful, more reliable memory?
That's definitely something to mull over. What could you do with that kind of mental upgrade? A very provocative thought to end on.